Many people think that in order to be good at using English, a rich vocabulary and a good knowledge of grammatical rules are what they need and should prioritize. But let me show you a funny commercial video clip in which pronunciation is the only thing that matters.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät und das Gerät. Überlebensradar.
Mayday, mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
This illustration may be a real-life situation or not, but it did really want to send us a message. Good pronunciation can sometimes save you the trouble or even your life. Let's take another example. This time I want you to imagine you are invited to a job interview where you have to speak English. You only have one chance to create a first impression, and it has to be either good or bad. Good pronunciation can help you create a good first impression and enlarge your job opportunity. On the other hand, bad pronunciation will close the door to the company you want to work for right before your eyes, because people with bad pronunciation are often perceived as less intelligent and competent. There are several reasons for not being capable of properly pronouncing words and understanding other speakers, but the most common one is that you are not paying adequate attention to practices. For example, you know that there are some English sounds that don't exist in Vietnamese, so lacking practices, sufficient practices, may make you pronounce this word improperly. Furthermore, your local accent due to distinct demographics can make it difficult for you to acquire native-like pronunciation, and hence others may find it hard to understand what you want to say. They can also think that it is unpleasant to converse with you because they have to ask you to repeat yourself from time to time. So, in order to overcome this issue, there is no other way than keeping practicing on a frequent basis. You need to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes every day just for pronunciation training to improve this skill. And remember to give yourself time and be patient, because you will not see an immediate improvement until you have invested an adequate amount of time and effort. Word-by-word learning method is the easiest and fastest way for you to learn a language. But is it effective to build up a rich vocabulary? There is also another method in which you give the words you wanna memorize a context and learn them in their own sentences or phrases. To really know the pros and cons of each method, let's take 2 examples. In the first example, let's say you have only 3 to 4 weeks before the final TOEIC exam and you want to gain the maximum score possible. So, which of the 2 methods above would you go for? Obviously, you would go for the single words memorizing method, because what you focus on is to build up a large and sufficient vocabulary by memorizing as many words as possible. Why is that? Because a rich vocabulary is what you need, is all what you need for the listening and reading section of the TOEIC exam. In the second example, let's say you have 6 months to prepare for a job interview where you have to speak English. So would you go for the single words learning method or the learn them in small chunks or in phrases? If you still go for the first one, you will probably achieve a large vocabulary at the end. Be that as it may, using the vocabulary words you have learned to exactly describe what you want to say and make others understand you can be problematic, because what you have now is a list of single words. How to properly put them together can be a challenge. The only way to overcome this challenge is to learn them in their own phrases or sentences. This is actually a great option because by giving them a context, you make it easier to memorize not only the meaning of the words but also how to use those vocabulary words in a conversation. Paying too much attention on grammar can turn you into a grammar Nazi. A grammar Nazi is someone who believes that correct grammar should be used by everyone all the time. He would follow you wherever you go just to persuade or force you to use grammar and spell properly. I didn't say that grammar isn't important at all. Conversely, grammar, regardless of which country you are from, what language you are speaking, is the foundation for communication. It makes communication easier, more effective, and more precise. For example, when a message is received with correct grammar, it is easier to understand the meaning and the purpose of that message. On the other hand, bad grammar can cause you more troubles than you think. Many employers would immediately say no to you if they receive the cover letter for your job application, which contains a lot of grammatical errors or is poorly written. The fact that grammar is important is undeniable. Let me give you another example to clarify this point of view. I have learned that most of English speakers, native English speakers, cannot say what is a past participle, but they can always use it correctly all the time. How about Vietnamese students? If asked the same question, you would receive such an answer like this.
Quá khứ phân từ được thành lập theo hai cách. Cách có quy tắc, chúng ta lấy verb cộng với ed. Cách bất quy tắc, chúng ta học thuộc verb ở cột 3. Quá khứ phân từ được sử dụng trong các thì quá khứ hoàn thành, hiện tại hoàn thành và tương lai hoàn thành.
Smoothly, right? But the fact that they cannot use it correctly is also true. Millions of Vietnamese students spend years after years studying grammar just to find out that they cannot have a decent conversation at the end. So what is the difference between a native speakers and Vietnamese students? Don't tell me that because they are native, they can always speak something correctly. No, nobody is born capable of speaking correctly without practices. Practices is the difference. Native English speakers have learned how to speak correctly since childhood by repeating how others spoke. You can apply the same technique. Instead of learning the rule for every single grammar point, you can listen to native English speakers through movies, films, or TV shows, or to non-native English speakers with good level of English language. And remember to imitate them as much as possible. The next time when you are confused about whether to use past participle or simple past to describe something which already happened, just go with the sentence and the tense you want, and remember to observe the reaction from the listeners. If you get the reaction you wanted, you are choosing the right tense. As a TOEIC learner, most of you have to train only 2 out of 4 skills, which are listening and reading. And it is true to say that you are not able to speak English or to write in English well, even if you have got a high score of 700, 800 or even higher, right? The ultimate goal of learning TOEIC should be beyond getting the highest score possible. If you are serious about your future, your job seeking and promotion, you know you should be correct in writing and fluent in speaking as well. Therefore, aiming for proficiency in English rather than getting a high score in a test will benefit you in the long run.